What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with Nvidia, NQ, ES, and many other stocks out there. Talk about what's happening with Elon Musk's very important tweets and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But just note that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Mumu link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And this offer ends very soon in just about 10 days. Check out the link, which is down below and in the description. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening to Tesla. So as you guys can see, Tesla has a nice double top leg structure, which is leading to a little bit of downside. And Tesla has been downtrending this week as time has gone on. However, looking at Tesla, we actually held a very, very interesting level. Even though we did close below the 240 area, we did see some buyers kind of defend and try to push it back up. And it looks to me like Tesla's going to try to rebound tomorrow, because you have to remember that tomorrow is going to be the last day until we have earnings coming out on Tuesday. So that's going to be very, very important for Tesla and the markets. But looking at the charts, I am seeing a little bit of an attempt to rebound a bit for ES, for SPX, for SPY, and the markets. And I think that Tesla's going to follow the trend. In fact, Tesla may even lead the way up because we are approaching earnings, and historically we do see Tesla try to kind of like push a bit approaching its earnings. But the thing is, don't worry too much about what happens for the trading days of Monday and Tuesday. It's not going to be until after the market closes on Tuesday when Tesla announces its earnings. That's going to have a much bigger effect on the share price. So I will break down more information about this. I will be talking more about what's happening with Tesla in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about this news and also some earnings. As a reminder, for tomorrow, we have Verizon announcing their earnings, just a couple of others before the market ends up opening. And then after the market closes, we have Cliffs and a few others as well. For Tuesday, we have Spotify, UPS, Coca-Cola, and GM. Those are going to be some very, very important ones, not to mention the notorious Tesla and Alphabet/Google after the market closes. So just know Tuesday is going to be the most important day for earnings, as we have Tesla and Alphabet announcing their earnings. Tesla's going to be a big one. I can't wait to see what Tesla announces. I can't wait to see if Elon Musk gives us any updates on the robo-taxi or anything else like this. And if you guys want more information about earnings, I made a video about this yesterday, my earnings preview video. I recommend watching that if you want more information about EPS and revenue, not to mention what could end up happening to the share price and what tends to happen to Tesla historically after earnings. So for more information, just watch my previous video. Anyways, going into Wednesday, we also have a pretty big day on Wednesday. We have AT&T announcing earnings before the market opens, not to mention Chipotle, Ford, and IBM. For Thursday, we have American Airlines and a few more, and everything else is very minor for the end of the week for earnings. But just know Monday and Tuesday have some important ones, especially Tuesday when Tesla announces its earnings after the market closes. For data, just note that Monday through Wednesday are more minor days for data. There's nothing too crazy that's coming out during those days. However, Thursday and Friday will be a lot more important. Thursdays when we have the GDP numbers, and Fridays when we have the PCE data report, which is going to be very, very important. Anyways, going back to Monday, okay, it's going to be tomorrow, July 22nd, 2024. Just note that at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's not really much coming out, just the Chicago Fed National Activity Index. Very minor stuff. But at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out 2 hours after the market opens. So this might cause some volatility, so watch for this very carefully, especially for tomorrow. But it's going to be very minor in my opinion, maybe nothing too crazy. So we'll see how the market ends up moving. Just one more thing before I talk about Elon Musk's tweets. The market is neutral right now, in the middle, because of the fact that we're not really seeing anything too insane. I want to note that we were very, very greedy before, and now greed is kind of shifting towards neutral. The market's dipped a bit, but it hasn't dipped enough for us to say we're crashing, for the market to become extremely fearful. We're not in that phase quite yet. We're not seeing straight up capitulation or anything like that. So the market is still at neutral, still kind of in the middle. We did dip a bit last week, but just note that we used to be greedy. Now we're back to neutral, and things could shift depending on how things go for this week. Momentum is still at greedy. It is shifting downwards closer to the 125 daily moving average. This is showing signs that the market is contracting a bit, but it's still nothing too crazy. We're still at a momentum level that's at greed. So the market is still technically at a relatively high level compared to where it was, last year, compared to before. So it's still holding up despite the downside that we saw. The puts and call option positioning is now going up from the 5-day average. This is the 5-day average of puts and calls. It's going up because we're starting to see more puts being bought, more shorts entering the markets. We're still at extreme greed, but this may shift to greed later on as more shorts pile in. And the VIX is finally getting a breakout. We're going to be approaching the 17 area to see if we break that or not. We're seeing a lot of fear building up, but I'm going to be watching to see how it ends up reacting. For some important news involving Elon Musk, I just want to say that Elon Musk is responding to the promise by former President Donald Trump about ending the EV mandate. I just want to note that once again, Musk has his own views, and we can all have our own views. And that's completely fine. I respect that nonetheless. But people are confused about how President Trump said, and I quote, or former President Trump, excuse me, that he's going to end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Once again, saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration. So that's what President or former President Trump has said. And as a result of that, people are confused because Elon Musk endorsed him. So why is Musk, endorsing someone that's saying this? And here's the answer, okay? Trump once again said it. We have the quote right over here about ending the EV mandate on day one. Musk said that a surprisingly high number of people think that Tesla survives on subsidies. That is true of our competitors, but not of Tesla. So Musk is saying it does not matter. It does not matter. Someone even asked him about Trump's EV policy announcements. Musk says it will be fine. So why on earth is Musk holding these views? Because he's saying that it doesn't matter. This may affect Tesla's competitors, but Tesla's going to be completely fine now. It doesn't depend as much on subsidies as people think. It doesn't even depend on them. That's what Musk is kind of implying. And then Tesla's going to continue to get lots of growth. It's going to be fine moving forward. It doesn't have to depend on the government like before. And it's going to continue to see insane amounts of improvements and growth to the company moving forward. He also mentioned that Tesla is the only profitable EV company that's solely EV, and that there's so much growth to come for Tesla regardless of the subsidies. So he's very confident things are going to be fine regardless of what former President Trump has said. So that's the reason why Musk is still very confident he's going to be completely fine with this. And he's saying that this whole shift in policy will have a bigger effect on their competitors instead. So I think that's very important to note that this could actually kind of benefit Tesla in some ways. If you kind of ignore the subsidies part and you just look at how this may affect their competition, it once again has Tesla in a very, very interesting position. Tesla is still very popular for its brand and many other factors like that, and it's going to be fine. I personally agree with that, but I'm not as sure about the effects that subsidies will have if you were to repeal a lot of them. I personally think that it could slow down sales to some extent, but Tesla may offset that with a lot of new models, a lot of hype from Twitter and all over the markets. So Tesla should still be fine regardless of that. I just don't know what the full extent is going to be of this shift in policy. But I just want to say that I have trust in Elon Musk. Things are going to be fine for Tesla. We shouldn't worry too much. And once again, the future is still going to be very, very bright for Tesla nonetheless. Now, Morgan Stanley also has reiterated an overweight rating for Tesla. Barclays is giving them an equal weight rating. Cantor Fitzgerald is also giving an overweight rating. We also have the price price ratio kind of at this higher level than before. It's been dipping a bit because Tesla lost some strength. But it's still, we're going to be watching to see if this continues to push after earnings or not. Earnings will be the next factor affecting that. Mondays are historically green 53% of the time, and we tend to see more volatility around 11 o'clock a.m. and also around the second to last hour of the day. And besides that, I'm not really seeing anything else that's too crazy. There's been some talk about AI. As far as like insider trades goes, I don't really see much. It's kind of mixed between buy and sells. A lot of selling has been going on with Tesla, at least before we saw the sell-off. But since then, I'm not really seeing anything else too crazy. Also, guys, the volume is at 87 million. So we're getting dry volume. Tesla's been trading sideways because we're approaching earnings. And this is when we're going to be looking for a very, very big move. After the market closes on Tuesday, Tesla's going to go parabolic. So what do I see for the share price for the short term? In my personal opinion, as long as there's no bad news, because always know, guys, I can't always predict the news for Tesla. So my analysis is not always 100% correct about what Tesla will do, because sometimes unexpected pieces of news could come. But regardless of all of that, technical show the little rebound that's coming to Tesla's the most likely possibility. I think that Tesla's going to try in the 1 hour time frame to get back to about between very close to this 244 area. I think we're going to try to make a little rebound. We'll have to see if we could break through this or not. If we do break this, I'll be looking for 248 and then 250. If we fail to break 244, we might just consolidate up here and just kind of trade sideways. Those are the two most likely possibilities in my personal opinion. So look for a little rebound attempt back up to about 242.5 and eventually to 244 area. If we break through that, I'll be looking for 248. If not, we just consolidate. That's the most likely possibility. To turn bearish, you want to see Tesla lose 238. If we lose that, rebound and failed to hold that, we'll be looking for a bigger dip. But considering that earnings is coming up, usually Tesla does like to hold up approaching earnings. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do kind of like push a little higher. Once again, retesting this 244 area, the previous support becoming resistance, and kind of shuffle in this range. I think there's going to be a lot of shuffling, a lot of sideways price action as the most likely possibility. The 4 hour is showing some signs of life, and Tesla's actually getting very, very tight, kind of consolidating right over here. So I think we're going to likely continue to consolidate, look for a little rebound attempt, and some sideways price action as the most likely possibility for Tesla. Now, don't worry too much about what happens tomorrow and also for Tuesday when the markets open, because those moves don't matter. What's going to matter is the after hours, after the market closes on Tuesday when Tesla makes some big announcements. If Musk starts hyping the robotaxi, we could see a big bounce on Tuesday after the market closes or some kind of hype. So we'll see how earnings goes. I just wanted to call that out. But for now, I suspect Tesla will rebound a little bit into the mid 240s and just consolidate a bit, not really do anything too crazy. And then we're going to be looking for a much bigger move once we get earnings. For SPY, there's a bit of a downtrend over here on the 4 hour time frame. But if you look at the 1 hour time frame and zoom in a little bit, despite the downtrend, there is an interesting pattern where SPY kind of likes to push in the mornings, then start dipping, push in the mornings and start dipping. So look for a little push again to test our 20 EMA, get very close to it. And we also have this white trend line drew out. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go back up to about 550. And we'll see if we get a big rejection off this trend line or not. Look for a little rebound and possibly rejection. If we lose 548, we'll be dipping down to about 546. If we break past 550.5, I'll be looking for 552 or so. I think we're going to rebound a bit, kind of consolidate, and start to see another continuation lower as the most likely possibility. So look for a test of this trend line tomorrow and possibly rejection. I'll be watching that very, very closely. Another reason why I say that is because if you look at ES has been consolidating a bit, but notice how it likes to test our 20 EMA. We touched it here, rejected, touched it here, rejected, came close to, touched it here, rejected. So I might try to retest 55.80 and then maybe reject again. So SPY might get a little rebound before we continue lower following this trend. SPX, for those who are interested, is doing the same thing. We're actually testing our 200 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. If we were to lose this, we're going to be dipping all the way down to about 54, 58, around there. And that's going to be bearish for SPY and the overall market. I don't think it's going to happen immediately. We might see a little rebound first before it ends up losing that. So that might be because of the fact that the market's attempting to adjust. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get a little rebound tomorrow morning, retest 55.50, and then we kind of reject afterwards. That's the most likely possibility in my personal opinion. Nvidia is looking a little bit more bearish. We have a bit of a downtrend right over here, especially when you zoom out. We have once again on the hourly time from a double top like structure. And if we end up losing 116, we'll be looking for a bigger dip all the way down to about 107 on Nvidia. However, make sure you watch support around this 118 area and also at 116. Watch those two supports very, very closely. We have resistance currently around this 120 area and 122. As of right now, I see two possibilities. Nvidia is kind of range trading. Look at the last 3 days, back and forth price action between 118 and 122. So we might either do that, see some back and forth price action, and then eventually dip, or we might just dip from here. It's got to be one of those two most likely. So be prepared for that. To turn bullish, you want to break past 123 to push up for the gap fill towards 126. I don't favor that as much because of how it's looking. It looks like it's just going to consolidate for a little bit longer, and there might be a dip coming looking at the bigger picture. So just keep that in the back of your mind for Nvidia. For Bitcoin is looking a little bit more bullish, trying to break out towards 68,000. I think that we have a bullish looking structure, so I favor upside a little bit more. So watch for that very, very carefully. We have a nice bullish wedge. For a few more, for the QQQ and then NQ, I see a very, very similar trend developing. Watch this 476 area as resistance. If that breaks, look for 478. If we lose 474, we'll be tipping all the way down to 472. I think we might rebound towards this trend line, retest 476 and possibly reject. So we'll just have to see if that ends up being the case. If we break upwards, I'll be looking for 478. I favor just going up towards the 476s, maybe testing this trend line and possibly rejecting again, because when you zoom out like this, okay, notice how it rejected 1, 2, 3 times off this trend line. It likes to touch the trend line and reject. So look for a touch of this trend line again. That's the most likely possibility, closer to about the 476s, and then maybe a rejection lower as the market is still looking bearish. Once again, SPY could do the same thing. We could even dip lower all the way down to, let me just clarify one more thing. We might retest our trend line around the 550 area, then possibly reject. And if we do get the rejection, we could make a new low. I just want to clarify that. The chart is still bearish. I'm not saying we're going to bounce big time. I'm just talking about a little rebound and then possibly rejection afterwards. All right. For NQ, I see the same thing essentially. We have this trend line. Look at how many times it's rejected here. Rejection, 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 rejection. That's like 4 or 5 times it hit this trend line. Might retest the trend line. That's going to take us to about 19,800, then possibly rejection down lower. So watch for that very carefully. For Apple, Apple's on a bit of a downtrend as well, but we have this nice consolidation that's forming at 222. Look at resistance at 226, 225.5 to 226, and then 228. Look at support at 222. If this fails, let's look for 220. My guts tells me it's going to continue to consolidate for some time, maybe rebound to 226, and possibly reject afterwards. We might look for a little rebound to 226 and possibly dip a little bit lower, but I think that this consolidation phase will just continue for some time. We're just going to trade sideways before we dip all the way down to 220 later on. So watch for that, guys. Now let's go over just a few more. As far as Palantir goes, we have a nice looking structure. We have a double top leg structure that's forming here. We do like to kind of follow this pattern on SPY, where we kind of like pump and dump, pump and dump. Tomorrow it might pump to about 29, then dump all the way down to 28.8 or 28.1, excuse me, then 27.6. So look for a pump and dump like moving some downside. That's going to be very probable. For Supermicro, we're on a bit of a downtrend right here, kind of continuing to fall. We could be dipping lower. Look at 800 as resistance. If we reject here, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 780. I think we might rebound first to about 810 to 820, then possibly reject lower. That's the most likely possibility looking at Supermicro. For Rivian, we're on a bit of a downtrend as well. I think we're going to be testing our 200 EMA, but it really depends. If you look at the 4 hour, I think this gives you a more comprehensive picture. If we were to break past 17, look for a push all the way up to about 17.6 and higher levels. If we lose 16.27, we'll be dipping all the way down towards 16 flats and eventually lower levels like 15.5. My gut tells me that this might be dipping all the way down towards about 16.27, and this might be dipping lower. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. It looks a little bit more bearish. So look for a test of 60.27, then possibly a bounce. So far, it's looking a little bit more bearish. Might be testing this. It also depends if we end up holding below 7.46 or not. If we do lose that, I'll be looking for a push all the way down towards 7.33, eventually 7.13. But if we manage to get back above 7.5, we could try to bounce. This looks a little bit more bearish, like it wants to dip towards 7.3. So watch for that just to be safe. The IWM is kind of dipping a little bit. If we fail to get back above 217.8, if we do break that, I look for 220. If we fail, we're dipping down to fill this gap. I favor this gap fill down to about 213 later on. Maybe we pop in the morning, then eventually dip down, but it still looks a little bit more bearish to me. AMD is looking a little bit more bearish, but look at 150 as a key support, so it might dip a little bit lower towards 150. If we bounce off this, look for 155, and then a continuation lower. If we lose that, we'll be dipping all the way down towards, the imbalance over here around 146. So look for 150 to be tested, a little rebound, and then a continuation lower as the most likely possibilities. For ARM, we're trying to rebound. Make sure you look at 167 as resistance. We could reject off that. 167 to 169 might be tested and a rejection. That's the most likely possibility. For Coinbase, we're looking bullish. Look for 262 to 265 to be tested. It looks more bullish to me. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, so I'll be looking for a push for 265 or so. For Amazon, we're looking a little bit more bearish. I think that there's going to be a rebound attempt first before it tries to continue lower, because on the hourly, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders. Might retest 185 or so, then maybe reject lower. But look for a little rebound initially and see how we end up reacting to 185. Meta has a possible head and shoulders. If we break past 485, look for 490 plus. If we lose 473, look for a dip down to 467. We have a head and shoulders like structure, might pop towards 480, then reject lower, but this head and shoulders does give some downside potential. For Microsoft, we have a bit of a downtrend here. Notice how it likes to hover below its 50 EMA, the yellow line you see right over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we retest 440, then continue lower. For Google/Alphabet, it's kind of consolidating right now, not really doing much. We'll see what happens with earnings. So I think it might retest 182, maybe go a little bit higher, forming a double bottom here. So look for a push for 182 or 50 EMA, then maybe go a little higher for this imbalance fill. Maybe 184, that's a bit of a stretch, but then I think that it's going to consolidate, and we'll see what happens after earnings. Let me just finish these real quick. GameStop looks like it's going to be testing 24, still looks more bearish to me. I do anticipate some more downside for it. AMC as well might see a little bit more downside, might be dipping towards 4.8 or so, so watch for that. DJT, if we end up losing 34, we have a gap to fall all the way down to 31, so I do favor that. We'll see if 34 holds or not. For the VIX, we're trying to break out. We'll see if we can break past 17 or not. I'll be watching for that. The 10-year treasury yield is trying to rebound. Look at our 200 EMA. This is actually looking a little bit more bullish, which is bearish for the markets. And then the dollar is also trying to break, but there's a possible inverse head and shoulders that's forming here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this plays out. Maybe this dips and the market rebounds just a little bit in the morning, but then later on we get a breakout on the dollar and this leads to more downside in the markets. This is a possible inverse head and shoulders. Anyways, that's it for my analysis, guys. I am done for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. Tesla's going to likely try to rebound a bit tomorrow morning because we're approaching earnings. But then after earnings come out, that's going to cause the real move. Our move is going to be kind of minuscule tomorrow. We might just see a little rebound and some consolidation, not really much. But the real move is going to come once earnings come out. So get ready for that in just a couple of days. With that being said, thank you for listening, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one tomorrow morning. Thank you, and peace out.